Hello and welcome back to our all-in-one factory build series, where we take a single click of the mouse and turn that into a fully functional factory. And all that is needed is the raw resources along with some power. And this particular build is going to use 112.5 iron ore per minute to produce a total of 10 rotors. And if you watch the last episode, you'll know how to produce the factory that's going to produce 10 reinforced iron plates per minute as well, with an input of 120 iron ore, which together mean you can produce smart plating with just a few assemblers. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. As with the previous episodes, we have 3 layers to work out. We have the bottom one here, the mid section here, and the top section here. I do try to make these guides as easy as possible to follow, so if you do like this video, do hit the thumbs up so we can share it with more people. And obviously, if you want to see more and haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And in case you'd like to have these in your save without having to do the construction yourself, then if you're a member of our Patreon, you can get access to these, and they will be updated each month with more as we continue on. I already have a modular frame version of this as well. So if you do want to support the content, you can check us out on Patreon. I'll put a link above now and you can get access to these. So we're now ready for building. The first thing that we're going to do is grab our 1 meter high foundations, and we're going to place them along the bottom. From here, we're going to house the area with a wall. The reason for this is we want to see what's clipping through. We want to know what we can work with. And we're also going to place down the input in the lower left section. This is where the 112.5 iron ore will come and the 10 rotors will come out. And we're going to place the entrance over in the right hand corner. At this point, we're going to want to grab our splitter, and we're going to place the first one just in the center here, but 1 step down. And then we're going to place our first smelter. The smelter should be placed so that the input for the smelter and the output for the splitter are connected. They're inside one another. Providing you add the belt, they'll still function fine. The reason for this is we're trying to keep it as compact as possible, as after we place these 4 smelters, we're going to be placing our constructors. And for these, we're going to need to place them so they're offset from the middle by 1. And then we're also going to have to place them pretty close to this line. Now at this point we can do the manifold for the smelters, but I recommend, to save you a bit of effort, placing down the manifold for the constructors first. To do this, we're going to place them so that they are on top of the smelter line and obviously in line with the constructors. You will need 3 constructors. Just place these 3 high and then delete the 2 underneath. And then last but not least, connect these up with a belt, and we will do the manifold for the smelters underneath. If you've done it correct, you should be able to do an easy 90-degree turn from the last splitter to the last smelter. And then last but not least, we're going to connect this with the input there. Our next section is going to require us to do a merging line, and we're going to place these against the outputs for the constructors, and we're going to connect those together. And this is going to end up going into a elevator just here. At this point, we do need to do the merging manifold for the smelters. So we're going to place this so that the input and of the splitter and the output of the smelter are inside one another, repeating the same system nice and tight. And bear in mind, you will need the Mark II belts for this because we have over 60 items on the line. Once these are done, we're going to grab another elevator, and that is going to run straight along to these. Next, let's talk about the smelter and the constructor and what their clock speeds are. So along the top line with the smelters, 3 of them will be set to 100% clock speed, producing iron ingots from iron ore, and then the 4th one will be set to 75% clock speed, producing iron ingots. We will then have all of the iron ingots flow into these constructors. Now, the important thing about this build is that you are going to need the power shards in order to run this. Each one of these is running at 250% clock speed. That's a total of 7.5 constructors running from these three, and they're all set to iron rods. From this, we should be producing a total of 112.5 iron rods per minute, which brings us to the next floor. But before we go up to the next floor, we are going to want to sort out a walkway to get up there. To do that, I've just taken these catwalk stairs and placed them above this arm. From here, we're going to run a walkway up to the next section. Then we're going to have an area where we can view everything. And we're also going to have a second section, which is where we're going to head up to the next floor. For the next floor, we will be wanting to place another floor high, and then on the next section, we're going to place a single floor, and that is going to allow us to clip through these lights without them coming through the top section. We're now ready for the next floor. What I will mention is I have had to push these back one extra place so that they're in line with the back edge. The reason for that is so that we can run this line into an elevator, which is going to run against the back of this wall to this level. Now, along this level, we're going to be placing 4 more constructors. These are going to be producing our screws. But before we set the screws up, we are going to have to split some resources towards the top floor. This is because we're going to need both iron rods and screws to produce the rotors. So to do this, we're going to place a splitter facing the two along the side wall here. And we're going to grab our conveyor belt and we're going to place this where you wish. I recommend about here, and then we're going to turn this around so that it goes into here. And from here, we will be placing a elevator, which will go up to the next floor. This will be a Mark 1 line, and then we'll need another Mark 2 line going in this direction. You'll notice that this section isn't perfectly efficient because we need 62.5 iron rods on this line and 50 here. It's time for the screw constructors. For this, we're going to be placing 4 constructors. The first one is going to be placed just along the edge here, and it's going to be 2 places to the right. And we're also going to want to grab a splitter as well, and we'll feed that into there. We're going to place 2 more along this line now, and then we're going to place a third or fourth one, just here. However, to do that, you are going to have to place down the foundations. It should be about there. Let's place the manifold line. We can actually get this slightly closer, and then we'll connect these all up. Now, for this line, we're going to need to take 250 screws up to the next floor. Now, you can do this with a high belt tier should you have one, such as the Mark III, but I'm going to be splitting these into a load balance system for the next floor. Before we do the load balancer, you're going to want to set the 3 constructors on the back here to 200% clock speed. We'll also have this constructor set to screws at 25% clock speed. At this point, you can grab a splitter and place it on the output of the middle constructor, and we're going to place mergers, one facing the top of the build and one facing the right on the other 2. It will allow 80 screws here and 40 from this one to merge together to send 120 screws in this direction. And we're going to do the same here. So another 120 screws go to this line. Finally, we have 10 screws, which we're going to bring around here, and this will be sent to another line, which I will show you in a moment. To get the right positioning for the elevators, your first one will be against the back wall and going up to the next floor. It'll be slightly over, and the second one will be here. Don't worry about the height too much until we've placed the next floor down, but these are going to neatly, hopefully, curl around the side like so. And then for the constructor that's only producing 10 screws per minute, we're going to place an elevator just in this section here. So it should allow us to run another belt along to about here, where it will go up to the next floor. From here, we're going to place a conveyor so that it's going through there, and we will delete the floor. This will allow us easy access between the two areas. And should you wish, you can place a half foundation across there. At this point, we are ready for the next floor. To get the right height for the next floor, you're going to want to have your 4 basic walls followed by 2 1-meter walls. From here, we're going to place the foundations, and we're going to replace the elevators that I've just torn down so that they're popping through the bottom there and also here. At this point, I am facing the elevators, which I've just replaced. We've got one heading to the left and one heading to the right. And in order to get the right placement for this one, we're going to place down our assemblers first. So if we grab the assembler, we're going to place it so that the middle assembler is directly in the middle, and we're going to place one either side. From here, we're going to want to place a merger, and this is going to be, I want to say here, and then from here we will take a elevator down to the floor below. This is how we'll take the resources up to the next floor from this section. They should nicely line up. At this point, you'll want to place a splitter either side at the end or in the middle, and we are going to run a Mark 1 belt splitting from the outside sections to the merger here. What this is going to do is allow us to prioritize this line with the Mark 2 or whichever speed belt you have, as well as this one, and then any overflow will be sent to here. At this point, we're going to set these to rotors, just using the normal recipe, and here you can see we need 20 iron rods, 100 screws per minute. This one is going to be set to 50% clock speed, so it only needs 50 screws per minute. That's 20 from each of these and the 10 in the middle. And the next thing that we need to do is sort out the iron rods. If we take a look at the original build, you can see we've taken the rods up in the top left-hand corner, and we're running the resources along the top using the ceiling mounts and taking them to a manifold the other side. And we also have the walkway to this floor from the section to the left of the build as well. To do this, we're going to place the splitters and stack them 5 high and delete the 4 below, and we'll do this along to the end. We'll then bring our elevators up from the input of the assembler rather than from the splitter to the assembler, so that we don't get any clipping in the center section. With us knowing the iron rods have been brought up from the left hand section here, we can place this 2 slots along, and then when we connect this up, it will be at a right hand angle, providing it's at the right height. We're now ready to do the merging line for the rotors. As a heads up, I have had to push these back ever so slightly because I was offset by 1. We want to make sure that the output here aligns with the output in the wall. So connect these up, make sure that they're all facing the right way. And from here, all we need to do is sort out the walkway, which we would place in this section here going up, and to connect these all with power, which you can do whichever way you want. Cover this up and then decorate it. So I'm going to show you a tour of this now, and you can see how we've done it on the inside. And here we have one that is working. So if we go on the inside, you can see we've connected the power just above the doorway, and then in here we're using a lot of glass. I'll show you the outside in a little bit. We're making sure that all the power is run across the top. It's a little bit snug, but it is pretty clean, and you can obviously extend this walkway out should you wish. From the next floor, we have the 4 constructors set to screws and our walkway. Notice how there's no clipping of the conveyor belt, just the border there. And from here, we're going to be able to run up to the next floor where we're in line with the top section of the assemblers, where they're now producing the rotors for us. Once done, we can see that they'll be running along this line and all the way out at the bottom. When it comes to the outside design, we've played around with the materials and also the use of glass and different shapes throughout the build. Obviously, we are limited with the amount of space that we have, with it being a 4x4 grid. But if you are willing to spend some time playing about with it, you can get some pretty cool stuff. On this side here, we have made use of the pillars to change the shape slightly, but you are limited with a 4x4 grid and fitting a compact factory within it for the decoration here. So if you really are interested in improving your decoration, I recommend maybe keeping one wall open so that when you place it down, you can play around with that. But for more decoration tips, do check out my most recent guide on how to change a box factory to a slightly more decorated one. But guys, we are going to leave it there. If you did enjoy it, please do hit the thumbs up, and obviously if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Solo Clips patrons, James Irwin, Firefless, and Trebor, as well as our Lunas, the Calamity, Ben, Star, Shoku, the MN Wolf, and that dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the Salchin Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.